Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if this is your first time here. My name is May and I'm like super excited to making this video. I recently got into Stray Kids and I guess I got into Stray Kids at the perfect time because they were just released a new comeback and I'm obsessed with it. I got into Stray Kids about a month ago because one of my friends and I got obsessed very quickly. I have 2 albums back there with 4 more on the way. So I'm in deep. But I thought I would kind of combine some of my hobbies into like a really cool idea of I'm gonna be giving you book recommendations based off of their new album, this and that. Obviously these are just my opinions. There might be better books that fit these prompts. I'm just gonna be giving books that either I have read or that I want to read that kind of match the themes of the songs. I'm gonna kind of give over like my analysis of the album. I listened to it about 6 times since it's come out. Like I said, when I get attached to something, I get attached to something very quickly. And I kind of have some notes over all of them. There are 8 songs. One of them is a festival version, but I'm still gonna use it like as a prompt just because it's fun. And also I hate odd numbers. So running through the track list of this comeback, we had the title song being Run It. We had This and That, After You, Farming, I Do, Way Out, Back Then, and then This and That festival version. So 8 songs, 8 books, roughly. And yeah, that's gonna be the idea around this video. If you are watching this and you also like Stray Kids, you can let me know what your bias is. My bias is Felix. I love Felix so much. I love him. And this is my very first K-pop album. These are my very first photo cards. It's a very expensive and dangerous hobby to be having for someone who is autistic and gets attached to things. But let's get into it. Let's get into the books that I'm thinking for these prompts. The first song, like I said, the first song in the album is called Run It. This is like a super powerful beat. There's also like a big dance break that happens in the middle of it, and it kind of gives like the vibe of like a really big fighting scene. So I went in 2 different directions. Like one of my first thoughts was, oh, like a high fantasy, like a book that has like a war around it. And then my second idea is like really funny. Um, but in one of the parts of the music video, they look like it's giving that song that's like the leader of the pack song where like they're like wolves crawling on the ground. That's the vibe that it was giving me. So those are the 2 vibes that I had for this song. So for the first vibe, which was like a high fantasy or like a high fantasy or like a really powerful kind of book or the really powerful kind of character, I have the Scorpion and the Night Blossom. I have not read this, but I do believe, like I think I was reading through the back cover. And it says she's no longer a helpless child though, armed with her crescent blades and trained in the ancient art of practicing, she has decided to enter the immortality trials. They have to survive the journey to the immortal realm. Um so yeah, it just sounds like it's like a really powerful character. There's gonna be like a lot of fighting in it. Because obviously it's trials. Trials have a lot of fighting in it. So that's kind of like the very first vibe I had for this song. And then the second vibe of this song is a book that I already have read. And that many of you probably have read, but I have to literally just say it. Twilight. Specifically Breaking Dawn. Oh, I have my book upside down. Breaking Dawn. Breaking Dawn, because if you know, you know. But there's werewolves in this, and that music video reminded me a lot of werewolves. Um, yeah. I don't know many people who haven't watched or read Twilight, but if you haven't watched or read Twilight, I do think it fits the song really well because there's just like a lot of fighting through all the books. This is the very last book, so obviously you'd have to start with the first one if you hadn't read them. But this is just my 2 recommendations for the song. Not every book's gonna have 2. Some of them have more, some of them have less. But that's the vibe that I had for the first book. That's the vibe that I had for the first song. The second song is called This and That, and this is a really interesting song with like a very interesting beat and everything, lyrics and everything. So my brain kind of went different directions the more I thought about it. But the overall theme of the song to me was just like self-confidence, ambition, freedom, like recognizing that what you want isn't a bad thing. Like you're not greedy for like wanting to accomplish like your dreams and stuff. So I went 3 different routes with this idea, and I have 3 different books for it. I went why choose romance because like this or that, why not both? I went a self-discovery book because if you're just recognizing that like you can have whatever you want and it doesn't make you a bad person. And then I also just went the basic route because coffee is a really big part of the song. They like spill it's Americano. Yeah. So I went coffee shop romance. So I have 3 different books for these. I've read 2 and 1 I haven't read, but for the Why Choose Romance, I have Her Villains by Jade Presley. This author pretty much exclusively writes Why Choose, so if this is not something that interests you, maybe try one of their other books, but I really love this author and the series. This is a really small one, but some of their bigger ones, I have one on my shelf back there. It's the purple sprayed edge right there. That's a much larger Why Choose of theirs. This is like a reverse harem of like I think there's 5 people that she ends up being with, I think in total, and they're really, really short, and they're actually low-key inspired by Marvel. And now that I said low-key, it kind of sounds like a pun. But they're inspired by Marvel, so like another hobby that I'm putting in here is Marvel as well. I literally just got back from seeing Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movie. So there's like a why choose romance of like, because in their song they're like they've been asked about the song and they've said like, oh, it's about the fact that like why not have both? Like why limit yourself? Like we like you know what I mean? So like I was like, why choose one person when you can have multiple people? So that's the idea that I had for this one. And then for the self-discovery character, I have also read this one, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. I picked Legend Born by Tracy Dion. I don't actually know how you say their last name. I'm so sorry. But this book is really phenomenal. It is about a black main character going to a school of essentially all white people, and there's like a lot of racism that's happening. But along the way, she's also discovering a lot about herself and her abilities and her family and all of these secrets that she didn't know about. So it's like very, very, very big into like self discovery. And she also has like this inner battle happening between her and like some elements of herself. And by the end of it, she's like, you know what? Fuck all of you. I'm just gonna be myself. And that's kind of what I imagine the vibe of this and that to be. And then I don't have a picture of the last book, but just like essentially any coffee shop romance. So like Legends and Lattes, I've read, but I know there's another book in that series, so like maybe I could read that one. I also know there's like that like pumpkin shop romance. What's it called? I'm thinking. I'm looking it up. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Those kinds of books could be cool, or just like any kind of coffee shop romance trope, I think could really fit this and that just because of the coffee aspect of it. So that was my idea for song 2. Song 3, which is called After You. This is like a really deep emotional vulnerability song, like following a relationship of like missing them and not knowing how to live your life, but also wanting them back. So I also went 2 different directions in this. I have the perspective of not ever wanting them back and like wanting to move on with someone new and having the vulnerability of trying to be with someone new. And then I also have a book that's also talking about like getting them back because you miss them so much, like a second chance romance. Um, for the emotional ability of trying to get with someone new, I have Deepen by Ali Hazelwood. I have not read this yet. But from what I understand, it's essentially like a very sexual relationship explorative kind of book because I think one of the main characters is getting out of a very painful relationship and one of the other characters is coming off of a really almost fatal injury. I think that's what I remember being told about it. So like they get into some kind of arrangement and they're like kind of, you know, getting over some trauma with each other. So kind of like that scope, but I also like obviously they weren't together previously, but I kind of was leaning more on like the emotional availability of being with someone new after following a really painful relationship. And then the other book I don't own, but I have read, and it is called Into the Weeds by BK Borison. This is a second chance romance, and it's one of my favorite books by BK Borison. It's really good. I'll have a picture on the screen. And then song number 4 is called Farming. This is a really interesting idea for a book, but it's literally just aura farming. It's literally just someone trying to be cool and effortless and like seem like they're not trying when they are trying. That's quite literally what the song is about. It's literally aura farming. I did not know that that is actually a subcategory to books, like in general. Did not know that whatsoever. And essentially, aura farming is classified as lit RPG in the book space because in the book space you can like in lit RPG you're essentially getting like status points as you play or you read along. Did not know that. So um I would say that's not kind of the vibe that I would probably ever really read, but I do have a book that's kind of similar to that, and then I also have a lit RPG book that I would read, but that's not really aura farming in my opinion. So this one's kind of not the best one, but maybe y'all can forgive me. I'm trying my best here, okay? So the one that I have read that I think is kind of aura farming is Dark Academy. There are some men in this book who just act silly and act like they're just like the coolest people ever because they want to be seen as impressive because like they're the heirs to the kingdom. This is like I wouldn't classify this as aura farming, but I would classify this as people who are trying really hard to seem cool. It's the four main heirs of the book. Yeah, I love the series. Like, this isn't me talking bad about it in any kind of way. I love this series so much. But I guess this is the closest book that I could get to aura farming, because they just want to be seen as really cool and effortless, and like they're not trying when they are. Especially Seth. Like, if you've read the book, especially Seth gives off aura farming vibes. And then when I looked up lit RPG, I saw Dungeon Crawler Carl listed on there, and I have read the first two books. So I could say that, like, to fit this theme, I could just go ahead and read the third book, or if you haven't read Dungeon Crawler Carl, you could just start with book one. I don't think that it gives aura farming, though. Maybe in a way, I guess in the classification of, like, what it's being used as in the book space, it definitely does. Like, if aura farming in the book space means that you get, like, you collect status points and you can, like, gain points, that definitely fits. Like, you definitely do that in Dungeon Crawler Carl. For song number 5, which is called I Do, this is to me is like people are like kind of like a song of like you're not going through this alone. Like everyone has some kind of pain that others can understand. It's kind of like a song about empathy, kind of a song about how you don't have to go through things alone, that you can share your burdens with other people. And the first thing that came to mind was Found Family, and I have one book that I've read and one book I haven't read. The one book that I have read that I don't own a copy of because I want one of my other friends to read it is Six of Crows. This is very much a found family type of book. And then the book that I haven't read is called Drizzle Dreams and the Love Struck Things. Seems like a really, really cute book, but it literally says at the bottom, it says this sparkling debut celebrates sisterhood, family, and the love all around us. So literally this is like the kind of perfect book for I Do, which I really love that song. It's really one of their best songs that I've heard. And then song 6, which is a completely different tone to song 5, is called Way Out, and this is a very, 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 very angry sounding song. This is essentially about like wanting to get rid of someone that was in your life that has hurt you, and telling them to never come back. Like they're simply like goodbye, never see you again, bye bye, toodaloo, and I think they even say goodbye in like multiple languages in the song. So essentially, like I didn't really have like the best perfect ever book for that. So what I ended up doing was I picked very angry protagonist so that it would like kind of fit the vibe of like angry sounding. And I was thinking of Poppy War, which I have read but don't own anymore, and I love that series. And Ren, which is the main character of that series, is probably one of the angriest women I've ever seen in a book in my life. So she would love this song. She would fucking love A Way Out. She'd be a Way Out stay for sure. And then the book that I do own that I haven't read is called Something Wicked. I don't know how angry it is, but it sounds angry because when I was reading it, it literally sounds like the lady of the book is like, gonna fucking kill someone and all that. I mean, it's literally called Something Wicked. I mean, just from the vibes of the cover, it makes you think that there's gonna be someone angry, very, very angry in this book. And then the song 7, which is called Back Then, it's kind of like a very bittersweet romance summer that takes place in the summer. I think it's actually loosely based off of a anime, maybe? Or manga, if I remember right. I don't know the whole lore of every single thing, but I think I remember seeing that on social media the other day when someone was like, oh yeah, I think this is based off of that. Anyways, I was getting like bittersweet, like romance set in summer. So I have People We Meet on Vacation, but I've already read this. If you have not read this book, you absolutely should. It is literally amazing. I actually hate Emily Henry, except for this book. This book is literally amazing, and there's a movie for it. I have the movie cover. It's amazing, it's amazing, amazing. I cannot say more. They are going on trips during the summer and slowly like falling in love with each other. This one is a stretch, but you'll see my connection in a second. I have The Sun and the Star Maker. This does not take place in summertime, but it does take place. It is like a very bittersweet romance, and the main character is like the sun who's trying to essentially like win over the winter. So I counted it. Like I think it's really cute, and I mean it's look at her. She's very sunshiny. So she is the summer romance. Okay. You have to just believe me. And like even like this gives like summer vibes. Like anytime I see the sun, I think of summer. Is the sun only out in summertime? No, but that's like when I see something that's summer, like has the sun on it, I'm like, oh, it's summertime. Like it's summertime. Because to me, wintertime is very dark and gloomy, very blue. So that's my reasoning for that. And then the last song, it's called This and That Festival Version. This is just a fucking rave. It's just a rave. It's a rave. There's no other explanation. I mean, I already went over this and that, but you just take this and that meaning and then add a bunch of fucking festival music and you just jam out. And this is such a silly idea. But I didn't really have a book for this, so I just like Googled books that feature raves, and there's actually a one that's called the Ecstasy Club that is a rave with time traveling. I'm actually super intrigued. I'll put a picture of it on the screen. Maybe that's a recommendation for that, because I really don't really know of any books that has like raves or about music festival in this type of sense. But that's the list. I hope everyone has enjoyed this video. You can let me know if you've read any of these books. You can let me know if you've listened to the album, if you might want to listen to the album. This is like my first time doing the video quite this way. I used to actually like pick out the books and then read them in the video, but I'm no longer reading quite that consistently. And you could be waiting months for that kind of video, but this is a very new album, so I wanted to get it out in a timely manner. So like instead of me actually reading them on the video, I'm just saying, hey, here are some recommendations. If you like this song, you might like this book. So I hope everyone likes this format. And I don't know if I'll do it ever again because I'm just obsessed with Stray Kids. Maybe I'll do it next time the Stray Kids has an album out. Yep, bye. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.